Hello everybody, welcome back to the United Stand. Arsenal 3, Manchester United 2. A lot to talk about in all honesty. My quick thoughts was it's disappointing. I think that's the main thing. But as I say, there's a lot to talk about. Is that title race over? If there ever was that debate in terms of whether we were in a title race or going to be in a title race, should we have got a better result out of this afternoon's game? I personally think that conversation is over. But again, we can talk all about that with the people on the show today. We got Beth, Faz and Kev here today. How are you all feeling? Beth, how are you feeling about that result? Obviously disappointed?
Depressed is the word to sum it up. Honestly, I'm gutted. I mean, I thought the Palace one obviously hurt a bit more because of the nature of it. With the Arsenal one, I saw that goal coming when we decided to drop off in the last 20 minutes. I just think I'm disappointed. Like you said, disappointed. I thought it was poor in-game management, actually. First time I've ever thought that. And yeah, we could have got more out of that game, I think. Arsenal were much better than us, but we could have got more out of the game. Yeah.
Faz, I saw you were very, very positive on Twitter, which, you know, which is a great thing, I think. And a lot of people will get on to people for their positivity, but I like, especially, you've got, while Manchester United are up and doing well, you've got to use that as momentum. But how do you look at that now, seeing as, you know, you were quite confident going into the game? Obviously, it's not the result we wanted, but does that hinder your positivity at all moving on?
Firstly, I will not apologise for my positivity.
Don't think you should.
I'm a fan of football, and I will always be tribal when it comes to supporting my team. I always say this to everyone, I'm very tribal. And considering what the manager has done with the squad this far so season, I actually thought we could win that game. When Rashford scored that goal, again, whenever he scores, I feel unconscious. I thought this was it. We're going to go and beat them. When Martinez scored the equaliser, I thought, yeah. But at the second half, I'm pretty much with Beth. I think the manager has a lot of blame to take today, and we must say it as it is. And I think in essence, we were scared and we bottled it. Literally bottled it. The game was ours to win, and we gave them the respect that we shouldn't have, and that's what happens. Arsenal are in form, and well done to Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be tough to kind of knock them down. I think City would have been rooting for us in that game, wouldn't they? Kev, we obviously watched the majority of the game together. What was your thoughts in terms of the performance? We did sit back probably for large parts of towards the end of the game, because I think the players probably thought if we can nick a draw here, that would be a pretty good result, getting 4 points out of the possible 6 home and away against them. But do you think it's 2 points dropped if we were to have got that draw? Or
on reflection, you have to think that that's 2 points, a massive 2 points dropped. I take all your points. In-game management, I like Erik ten Hag, but I think he's got certain things wrong today. Eriksen towards the end looked like he's tired, and I think to get back into that game at 2-2, you have got a Garnacho on the bench, somebody you could bring in, inject a bit of pace and try and go for the win. Ultimately, it should have been about seeing the game out. Manchester United haven't been able to do it today. And it's just annoying just to lose the game in that manner, to get ourselves back into that game, the stage where Martinez scores his first goal for Manchester United. You start believing, and it's just a sickener.
I also think as well, it highlighted again how far we are off, really, because we have got certain issues that keep coming up.
Which isn't a bad thing, is it? We've got to remember, haven't we?
There's certain individuals that have problems that are costing the team, game in, game out, and sometimes it costs, sometimes it doesn't, but it's starting to cost a lot.
The alarming thing, I think, is squad depth.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
When you look
out for McTominay, it's just the drop-off is mental.
There's no comparing a McTominay to Casemiro. Midweek when Casemiro got booked, all us kind of looked at each other and we were like, shit. We've got Arsenal at the weekend. It was a huge blow. But to see McTominay's name on that team sheet today, when you're going into battle, and the midfield area is going to be such a huge part. And I thought Arsenal just overran us today. I think a Casemiro obviously would have made all the difference today. But we can't be heavily reliant on one player, can we?
No. Yeah. And you have to consider as well, right? They didn't batter us. They didn't. At times, we had more possession on the ball in their half. At times, I thought they would have pressed us, and they didn't. At times, we looked like we had the upper hand in that game. That's why it kind of feels worse, doesn't it? Because you thought, you know what, we could have, maybe a Malacia would have made a difference in that game, taking Luke Shaw off, and Luke Shaw kept backing off and giving Saka so much respect and space. Maybe taking Eriksen off and bringing on a Garnacho would have made a huge difference. I mean, he took Ben White off at half time. They clearly knew that Rashford has been, peppering the fullbacks. I said this, before the game, that Rashford's going to do something to the fullbacks. And Anthony got taken off. I think there was just room for Garnacho in that game, 100%. And the manager, at the end of the day, he was stubborn. We know he's a stubborn manager, and that's what it is. I hope he learns from this. It wasn't a battering. I'm not going to be, having my head down and thinking, oh my God, they've embarrassed us. No, they haven't. We were equalised. We were drawing all the way to the 90th minute. Let's be honest. We could have actually taken a point. This is massive compared to what we were last season. Wan-Bissaka again making astonishing tackles, even though, Eddie's goal, sure, it came from him being lackluster and not in the game, switched off. Yeah. But still, there are players who have come leaps and bounds. I think there is still a lot of the season to go, still a lot of cups to play for, and there's still positives to look for.
Definitely. First off, I want to bring in Luke Shaw. Actually mentioned in his post-match interview about them scoring late on was a little bit of a reality check. Kev, do you think that's the right choice of words? That I don't know in what sense he means. Maybe because we've almost forgot what losing is like. The run we've been on, it's almost that reality check that we aren't invincible. We can. You switch off for that tiny little bit, and obviously it does cost you.
We've been on a great run. It is a good choice of words. The thing is, the expectation levels shot through the ceiling when we beat Manchester City. And to go on from that, we were on this show talking how many points could we get from City, and the Arsenal game, kind of looking at that. And there was a right mixture, wasn't there? Ricky said we won't get any points from them 2 games. I think I said 4 points. I was confident we would win one of these games, possibly draw the other. We haven't. But you take a monumental sort of victory against City like that, and the expectation level just rises, doesn't it? Big time. And then it's almost like after City, I don't know, if you're going to update your Facebook status, Man United, it was like in a relationship with the Premier League or something. After that, we were being talked of as title contenders, yet then a last-minute equaliser at Selhurst Park, and then, you know what I mean? It's getting changed to it's complicated, and now it's like, it's changed again, hasn't it? It's almost like we're single,
Yeah. Talking of a title race, though, do we think, I know, Beth, you've kind of almost teased with the fact that what if this happens, we could be, but do you think that is conversation over, dead and buried, title race is no more? Not a chance.
We, like Roy Keane said, you had to win this game to even be considered into it. Also, dropping points at Selhurst Park was an indication that you have to win sort of them games if you want to go all the way. And I mean, we were in a title race for 4 days, but we were never actually going to...
As soon as we were in it, we were out of it.
We were never actually going to go on and do that. It's ridiculous to even ask that of this squad at this point. In this season, getting top 4 would be a really good achievement, and I think that's definitely attainable. I think we will get top 4, but no, there's no discussions about a title race for sure.
I think what Shaw says, whether he actually means it indirectly or directly in terms of a reality check, I think you can take it that way in terms of, look, this squad as a whole definitely isn't ready for that title race yet, and top 4 was the aim coming into the season. A lot of people, myself included, didn't think that top 4 was going to be even in the discussion. I said 5th or 6th as a maximum, but
it is the squad depth that is that is the thing that is showing now, because there are players out there. When we hit the kind of 70th minute of a game, you can see that tiredness. Now, when you look into the bench, I know Martial's not there, he's injured, but the bench doesn't, apart from Garnacho, it doesn't really inspire you much. That they are backup players, but they're not game changers. And that's where we are with Manchester United at the minute. We know that these owners are not going to invest in January as much as a lot of us want them to, and go out there, invest in the squad to give us a great opportunity. They are not going to do it whilst the club is, potentially up for sale. They want to get rid of it. Why would they invest money in it? That is the thing. At the minute, you look at Manchester City, the options they have in the middle of the park, they have an embarrassment of riches. Yet a Casemiro drops out today, and we're bringing McTominay in, and Fred gets on at a stage. And that is the levels. Look at Manchester City. Gundogan, Rodri, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne. It's just, that's the level. You know, and we are far off it.
It is crazy, but
you mentioned
McTominay and Fred. Why, Faz, why do you think... I mean, look, Fred had a really, really good game against Man City, didn't he? Some say pocketed De Bruyne, played really well. Why do you think he chose McTominay over Fred today?
Well, Fred isn't going to play a 6, let's be honest.
Yeah.
On top of that as well, you need someone who's going to be really physical in our half of the pitch. And McTominay did do a good performance the first time round. You can't deny him
he
that.
played really well. Yeah.
So, like I said before the game, I was saying this is McTominay's time to shine. You know, the manager will put faith in you, and when he does give you an opportunity, you show the manager that I am also deserving of starting games. That's what Bissaka has done. That's what Malacia has done at times. That's what all the players have pretty much done. Fred has done that as well. But McTominay, in this crucial game where he needed to step up, he didn't. So poor. After this game, I really want to cash in on whoever offers any money. The guy doesn't show for the ball. The ball comes to him, he's not ready. He's looking lost. His passes are atrocious. Decision making is awful. I don't know how any Manchester United fan in their right mindset can think this player can play for this club. It is diabolical. And I was saying, I'm going to give you my respect and hope this game, but you've lost it. And once you lose that respect in a big game like this, it's hard to come back.
It's even more noticeable, the drop-off. Now we have a player like Casemiro, isn't it? Like, we all knew McTominay wasn't good enough and to be like a 6 by himself, or even probably play for Manchester United as a starting role. But now Casemiro's been brought in, the levels are completely different. A few super chats here. Deep says, Leach is our best player. Passion. This is for Shaylin. Says, credit to the boys for the way they played today. Consider we were playing with 10 men. McTominay invisible the whole game, bar one shot. Yeah, McTominay's a rotten egg, I'd actually say. So he's almost like a rotten smell. He just seems to follow us around. Thomas Martin says, got to send Anthony to the Erik Ten Hag hyperbolic chamber. Interesting. We can talk about Anthony a little bit later. Kanishka says, the team did their best. Ten Hag is immense as to what he has done. We need more players. Top 4 with 1 or 2 trophies is immense. I mean, that would be a huge overachievement, in my honest opinion, if that happens. Serious question. Is there a Cavani we can buy today? We need a player like this to win. Is there a Cavani player out there? Weghorst seems to be our Cavani player, but whether that's going to work out. I would have said
Marcus Thuram. I've been big on Marcus Thuram. He was only a couple of million, 10, 12 million, 25-year-old, fastest player registered for Mönchengladbach, one of the fastest players in that league. You should, if you're a serious club, you would go and get someone like that, 25 years old. And forget that. What could Benny McCarthy do with someone like that, right? But guess what? We won't do that, will we? We'll go and get someone from Besiktas at 3 million and expect him to do. And Anthony put a good ball into him. I think it was first half. And the guy had nothing on him to get to the ball. His press is good, but listen, there's no point pressing in slow motion. He presses in slow motion.
Not got pace,
I know he presses, but he presses in slow motion. Every ball has to be pinpoint accurate to him. I'm going to give him, he's here. I'm sure he'll play way more minutes than Martial because he's not going to be here. But we need more, man. This is not it. This is not it when it comes to Europa and stuff like that. I can't see him do any damage.
Honestly, I go as far to say, from what I've... Weghorst, by the way, I thought his link-up play was pretty good. But I go as far to say, I don't know if he'll score a goal. I genuinely won't. He doesn't look like he's going to get...
I was shocked by his pace. I mean, I thought Harry Maguire was slow. I mean, them two in a sprint for the 100 metres, I'd say it'd be about 5 minutes each, I was actually quite shocked today. And I think he did all right. Like you say, link-up play, held the ball up. There was obviously a plan to try and get Anthony and Rashford working off him and use the pace. But when he was dropping deep and putting it out and trying to get into the box, then I was like watching him. I was like, is he jogging? Is that him at full speed? I don't know, but that's...
You can tell he's bang average.
You have to consider, right, on a striker who's going to run the channel, the defenders will not be fearful of him now because they know he's not fast, right? So when an Anthony cuts in, when a Rashford cuts in, when a Bruno's got the ball, and they're trying to find those slick passes through the channel, through the lines, the defenders know and the goalkeeper knows that he's not fast enough to get there, or they don't need to be aware enough for be like, oh, okay, this player's next to me, I need to be, aware. This thing about him dragging players is fine because he's just running with it, but he's not that blisteringly fast where a player from like Eriksen or someone is going to find him, even from deep. So tactically, other than crossing the ball to him,
Which we don't do.
Which we don't do as much, and other than him dropping in to the halfway line and having a good touch and linking up, that's all it is. You have to look at, as a striker for number 9 in the Premier League, what else can you give other than just 2 things? And the other main critical things is threat. You know, do you have a shot on you? Do you have a header? Zilch, nothing. And I don't know what Ten Hag is going to do. He needs to have a solid think about this guy.
It's a tough game for him to come into. I think Crystal Palace, you're willing to kind of let him off for that game and think, first game, you know, it's a bit of a step up from playing in Turkey. But, you know, you really don't have time in the Premier League. And we don't as a club at Manchester United. And expectation level, we go back to that. At the start of the season, it was to finish top 4. And I think that's where Luke Shaw mentions about expectation. This is where we wanted to be. It's only because we beat Manchester City and all of a sudden the T-word title gets mentioned that people start looking at that and going, United are involved in this title kind of charge. But
do you think Ten Hag didn't want to use Weghorst in the capacity he has so far, but he's obviously been forced to because Martial's out? Do you think he would have hoped to have brought him on for 10, 20 minutes to maybe get him used to it a little bit more? But now his hand has obviously been forced with Martial being out. But
do you know what, honestly, for me personally, it's an absolute disgrace that's what Ten Hag's been given. Like, no disrespect to Weghorst, but it is honestly an absolute disgrace that Manchester United Football Club in the January transfer window, our only signing is going to be Wout Weghorst, who is not he's not good enough to be a Premier League striker, not even like a Premier League striker in the top half of the table, in my opinion, at all. Yet he's having to play up front for us. I feel sorry for him a little bit. Like, he's okay, but that is it. And the fact that is Manchester United's transfer window is disgraceful. A club of Manchester United. For Ten Hag, it is unfortunate for him in that situation. You would be scratching your head thinking, I know we spent a lot in the summer. People can tell me a lot that we spent loads in the summer, because we did. But we spent loads in the summer because they didn't do the business correctly. We could have spent half of what we spent if we would have actually gone about things quickly. So
it's not the first time, is it? You look under Solskjaer, you know, he wasn't backed 100%. Igalo, exactly, that's what I was going to say.
Haaland,
you know,
he thought he was getting Haaland.
Yeah.
You can see it on his press conference. He generally thought he was getting him, and then he ends up with Igalo.
But then he tried convincing us in a press conference that he was always his first choice striker and that, and I'm like, come on, mate, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes.
If I was Marcus Rashford now, that 200 Ronaldo rule wage goes out the absolute window. I am carrying your club. You are paying me accordingly. If I'm Marcus Rashford's representative, my client is not signing for you. I don't care what red and white you wear, but it's right. That's how football works nowadays. You know, I'm not lying. This is what the players want. If Marcus Rashford is constantly scoring like the way he is, he needs to be paid accordingly, and it's only fair. This 200 right out the window, mate. He's going to ask 350, 400, and rightly so.
This is where the club has made a rod for their own back in the past.
Yeah.
We talk about mismanagement of Manchester United. You had the likes of Alexis Sanchez on nearly $500,000 a week. Even bringing back Ronaldo to an extent, you know, the money that he was on. Other players will look and think, if I'm performing better, pay me what I'm worth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm off.
that is right. Kai Flo says squad depth is a massive factor. We have no replacement for Bruno, and the World Cup fatigue will set in if not sooner. We also don't create for the 9. I think honestly, World Cup fatigue would have been and gone. In all honesty, it would just be the football fatigue. We're playing 3 games, 4 games, 10 days, aren't we? So
on that point, does anyone remember how good Eriksen was when he first came in?
Oh, yeah.
He was brilliant. Now, he genuinely looks like he's run about 3 marathons by the time he's stepping onto the pitch in the second half. He looks exhausted. He again, second half, a bystander gets passed through the midfield. McTominay was poor, but he was basically on his own.
I was going to say...
Eriksen was non-existent. He's weak. He gets shoved off the ball too easily. Do not get me wrong, I think Eriksen is a brilliant player, but he should not be being forced to play 90 minutes 3 times a week. It just shouldn't be happening. He should be a player that can come in and out of the team, and he should have been subbed off today. That is it by Ten Hag. He should have been subbed off for Garnacho, but the fact that you look at that bench again and there's nothing on it when you look to the midfield as Fred, that's about it. But Eriksen, like, I want to get that player back, but in order to get that player back that we had at the start, he has to be rested, which means you need more players of quality, and we just don't.
Yeah, we haven't got the capacity.
He's so effective when he stops, looks up, and has time to scan and then pings the ball. If you're asking Eriksen to run around for 80, 90 minutes, that fatigue physically sets into him. So your decision making slows down, your passes long distance wise is not good enough. Even your decision making when it comes to, you know, taking a ball, taking a turn, taking a few steps, carrying it, it all slows down. You're more effective when you have players like a Casemiro or even a Fred around you who'll do the doggy dog running for you. And Casemiro makes things look so simple because he's right place, right time. He'll get the ball, give it to Eriksen, and Eriksen's got a load of space to create something. But this game, he didn't.
And in fairness to Eriksen today, he had a lot of ground to cover because he was literally
Exactly.
playing that midfield role on his own.
There you
know,
go.
McTominay decided not to turn up for pretty much, you know, a large period of that game today. You know, I was laughing one at that, but you were like, what's he done? You know, and you kind of look at each other and I was like, just the basic things, man. I'm like, maybe we're spoiled with Casemiro and that just highlights it by watching McTominay's performance today.
I'm sorry, when you're trying to pass out from the back, it is absolutely disgraceful you centre-backs have the ball. As a central defensive midfielder at Man United, to not be showing for the ball.
I said London United so many times.
He
turns away.
He runs away from the ball, but at the same time he makes it look like he might go and try and do it, but hides behind a player so it's impossible to pass to him. Getting up the pitch in transition, it is awful to not have a player there that can come and pick up the ball and pass through the lines. That's why Casemiro is so good as well, and that to me is such a stark contrast. We were so poor at playing it out from the back. We've been poor at that because of a few different players as well, but we just cannot have. Without Casemiro, we just can't get it up the pitch in a way. He drives that midfield forward.
I would have even forgiven him if he had ability on the ball.
Oh, no.
I would have forgiven him. I would be like, you know what, okay, times that he does receive the ball, he can turn a player. But you see that Arsenal midfield, Partey and all of them, they were dropping shoulders on everyone. They were carrying the ball everywhere.
Oh,
and you can't expect that from McTominay. He tried to carry the ball 5 yards and ended up losing it.
I'm not sure what you can expect, to be fair. Quite a lot of super chats to get through, so bear with me 1 second. Aswini says, compared to last season, we are levels ahead mentality-wise. Hope you continue to build on that.
Yeah.
We need some signings, especially a midfielder this Jan. Well, I will be very, very surprised if we sign anyone. Interesting one. I read this one ahead. Here we go. Such cheap and lazy analysis to blame McTominay. He did his job, was outnumbered in midfield. Erik Ten Hag was naive against Palace, and it cost us today.
Ricky's burner account's back.
I say, who the hell's thrown that in?
Ricky's burner.
Yeah, I'm going to say a lot of people won't agree with that, not just us. King Lace says, first season or not, Anthony was horrible and Rashford needs help. We can't rely on one man for our goals. This is all things I've been writing down, I can't lie to you. Zidane Brown says, so Faz would give Rashi 375 a week, same as Haaland, who has 32 goals in January, because Sancho is 350. So how much would you say for Rashford? Joke. Well, this is the thing. People do look at other people's goal tallies and stuff. That was a little bit confusing to read out. I can't lie. Not a numbers going on there, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. You don't compare. Wages don't go off what the other player is scoring. When an agent sits down with a club, they don't say, well, this guy on this club, his stats is this. No. When he sits down, Bruno said it in his thingy that money is important, remember? In his interview. When an agent or client representative sits down, they will say, what has my client done for your club? What has my client made, given to you? And what position did my client get your club into? And if Rashford is helping us get, well, in essence, scoring all the goals and helping us through cups and top four, his representative is going to want him getting paid.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And he's right to ask that as well. Like, if that is that position that he's in, he's right to ask that. Anyway.
Yeah. SK says, we're the only club in all comps and playing with no subs options for midfield. I learned Arsenal are not all even playing at home with a week off.
The one positive I think we can take, because obviously we have been a bit negative so far, but there's a lot of problems that have been highlighted 100%, but the only positive I can take from it as well is we did give Arsenal a very good game without our best team out, and I've not seen many people give Arsenal a very good game this season. So to have them on the ropes like that, I actually think, I'm giving Arsenal massive praise here, but they have been very, very good, and they've been very good recently as well. To do that, I think the team deserves a lot of credit, because we went there and we did play football.
They've come a long way in a short space of time.
Yeah.
You know, the main word is competing, and we're actually doing that now. How many of these big games at half-time, you've seen people leaving Old Trafford, 3-0 down against Liverpool, Manchester City the same. We've been absolutely obliterated, whereas now we're actually competing. And I've always said it now, you've got a group of players out there that you can actually connect to. and you're getting stuff back. Like today, another plus point is Steve Martinez scored today. I know we haven't got the result that we wanted, but you know, it's just a great moment to see him get his first goal for Manchester United.
Yeah, I have got written down here that I don't think it's actually time to overreact in the sense of, you know, we have lost a game, but you can't expect us to keep winning. Like, that is unrealistic. But the thing to do now is brush it off, forget about it, go into that semi-final, win, then go into Reading at the weekend, win, and, you know, get back into that run. But I do want to bring up Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I feel like he doesn't do himself any justice, in all honesty. He's been pretty much perfect in the time that he's been back when Dello was injured and then obviously now re-injured. But it does seem to be a reoccurring thing that whenever he does something wrong, it is always almost like space orientated or like defending at the back post where he just gets caught lacking. When he's one-on-one, still one of the best defenders out there. When it's that last-ditch tackle, he somehow always does manage to get there. But what is it that, you know, needs to happen with Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Because as soon as he goes to a hero, he's then zero again.
I don't think you could say zero. Like, I think he had a good game today apart from that mistake. But unfortunately, again, that mistake cost us a goal. And these are what I'm talking about, reoccurring problems that keep costing us goals. And they're in certain players. And Wan-Bissaka has that reoccurring problem where defending on the back post, he scares the life out of me. Absolutely scares the life out of me.
Switched off for the equaliser today.
He switches off. And it needs to be coached because it keeps happening. And it needs to be addressed. The same problems can't keep happening over and over again because it will cost us. And today it's cost us a goal. And apart from that, I thought he had a brilliant performance. And like you said, I mean, he got caught on the ball a few times, a little bit as well. But like you said, like one-on-one defending, when he went down on that tackle on the penalty in the penalty box, I thought that is brave because he had to get the ball on that tackle. I do think one-on-one he's probably the best in the world. Like, as in players getting past him. Like, I just don't think people can get past him in that way. But yeah, on the back post, it's a problem that needs addressing. But there's a few things like that needs addressing that does keep costing us.
Yeah, I think what was smart as well, I think he had some part to play in the third goal as well, which they scored, where he actually got dragged out to Martinelli, which he had to do because otherwise you keep dropping off and letting him go in. So he came out, and then I think it was Zinchenko who managed to get in between the half space between Wan-Bissaka and Varane, and then obviously whips the ball in. So
also as well, people forget about these things. Martinelli didn't get anything out of Wan-Bissaka today. And Martinelli's a very good winger who's been playing very well all season.
He got brought off.
You saw Saka kind of turn Shaw quite a few times, and Shaw I think's a very good defender, and Saka's brilliant. But Martinelli's been excellent this season, and he ended up getting subbed because he wasn't getting anything out of Wan-Bissaka, and that's one thing that he does bring for you. He locks down that right hand side. You see the Arsenal side in the second half. They kept going through Saka. Yeah. They did not want anything to do with Bissaka at all. You saw that's a typical Arteta move, and what you saw is the distance between Luke Shaw and Saka just kept getting more and more and more. And Saka literally walked the ball into the box. Saka normally would run in, cut, and then go on his left foot, which obviously he was successful twice. Once the goal, one was he hit the post. But Shaw isn't confident enough to close the gap between him and his winger, whereas Bissaka is so confident that even if I get close to you and you drop a shoulder, I have the speed to catch up to you, and I have that $1 million hook kind of slide tackle that I can do. Whereas Luke Shaw, he'll run with you, but he'll have to be physical and push you and barge you off and etc. Or he'll back off and he'll think, okay, I'll just give you the space and I'll wait until you cut in. Bissaka though, when that goal that Eddie scored, if you look back at that goal, Bissaka's looking at him. He's holding an Arsenal player, and he scanned Eddie twice. In that moment, you're supposed to communicate to the next centre-back or the next defender who's marking a player that I've got two. And you're supposed to shift one, and everybody's basically supposed to either shift one so that you can mark Eddie, and you're technically supposed to be either side-by-side with Eddie or you keep him offside. Either way, you're supposed to be concentrating on Eddie. He scanned Eddie twice, and then he's gone and marked the guy in front of him who's already got Martinez in front of him. And in comes the ball, and he doesn't predict the pace of the ball because the ball comes in so fast and high, and Eddie's just come in front of him and scored the goal. But he knew. At first I thought that he didn't know, but he knew because he looked at Eddie twice. He's done that a few times where he's looked and not done it. He's like he thinks has it covered, but it's a very typical conversation. It's a very typical community. I've got two. I'm marking this guy. You behind you, and then you shift over to him. You go to him, but he didn't do it. I don't know why he doesn't open his mouth.
Yeah, it's a shame. Leo J says we need Rice or Sangare or Kessie in the summer. Cassie can't do it all. William Turner says, it's heartbreaking we won't be better until these parasites, Glazers, are gone. Martial needs to go. We need a striker who stays on the pitch. Interesting, Martial's getting some slack. He didn't even play. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka, best player for Arsenal today, says Jims.
I think that's unfair.
That's very unfair. Very unfair.
Kola says, what are your thoughts on Saka celebration? Is it disrespectful to Rashford? I mean,
I don't think so. I think they're national. They're playing
teammates.
both. They're good friends. Yeah. I'm sure it's something.
Do you know what it is? It's just a bit of it's banter, isn't it? Like, come on.
Maybe so.
Zidane Brown says, question: who's Arsenal's depth players? I mean,
they've been very lucky with injuries this season, I have to say, because they've not got a good squad depth either.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't obviously pay enough attention to Arsenal's bench to sit here and go.
They have that Vieira.
They've got these guys, but you know, they just signed Trossard, who comes on, adds energy. You know, very good player, but
who can also cross a ball so beautiful. We cannot put a ball in the box to save our lives.
No, honestly,
it's pathetic.
I said today, after the 90 minutes ended, I thought, how many crosses do I see go into the box today? Apart from a corner, I generally can't remember seeing one good cross go in. Not one.
Yeah.
And it's just like you've got
that target man in the middle,
having him in there if you're not going to cross the ball. And do you know what you do? Like, Ricky's had this conversation here a few times. You do get goals by crossing it into the box. That's how Arsenal got their goals. Get quick crosses across the edge of the box. And you never know if flailing leg, can put it in the back of the net. It can go anywhere. As a defender, you get really scared when quick crosses come into the box. We don't do it. And partly for that, and by the way, Rashford is unbelievable. Their goal was brilliant. But I do think our wingers sometimes need to be a little bit less selfish, and instead of trying to do everything themselves, pass the ball off, use players around you, link up play, and that is a problem. Like we've said, the number 9 shift at Manchester United is a graveyard shift, and it still is, because we're not linking up. Our team play isn't good enough on the edge of the box, and it needs to improve.
Before we do move on to speak about Rashford's goal and a little bit about if we think he is our only goal threat, because I think today the only person I could see scoring, and it obviously did, was Rashford for the most part. I know Martinez did score, but it's as much as it's a good goal, it's very much right place, right time. Quite a lucky, but you make your own luck in that type of situation. Johnson Meeks says, yes, Man United lost, but I must say I'm happy because for the first time in a while, Man United and Arsenal are playing good football. It's been so long. There was a lot going around on social media, actually, with the whole Sir Alex Ferguson and Wenger debate again, wasn't it? Because we both seem to be...
It's not a debate.
No, it's not. But yeah, Rashford's goal was obviously brilliant. Sent Partey pack into the shops, didn't he? I think he nutmegged him, didn't he? And then absolutely smashed it home. But yeah, do we think Rashford is... Obviously, you're saying about him probably going to be able to demand a higher wage, but is he thinking... What more have I got to do? I'm scoring. We need more people contributing. Is he our only goal threat?
He in essence right now he is the only goal threat. Anthony gets his left-footed goal every so often, and he does the vamos that he does. Garnacho, he gives his input when he is on the pitch. But other than that, nobody's really that sort of player that we can say, right, he's got a goal in him. McTominay's got a shot from distance, but again, he's not like he's going to see a lot of minutes anyways. Rashford, at times, you see him dragging defenders with him. Like in the second half, Weghorst brought the ball down beautifully, gave it to Bruno, and Bruno just hoofed it to Rashford instead of carrying the ball a little bit. There's millions of acres of space in front of you. Run with the ball a little bit, and then get other players involved. He just first time tries to hoof it, and Rashford doesn't end up getting the ball. Even the bit where Ramsdale took him out, right? There's no one next to him. There's no one that he could turn around and say, right, I could maybe tap the ball away from Ramsdale and then I have a striker, because the striker brings the ball down and there's a 10-second buffer period before this guy decides to run back into the box because he's so slow. But he's the only person. And I keep saying, touch wood, hopefully nobody scratches him, because that's the only player we have that could give us something this season.
Just going to say that. I think we're heavily reliant on Marcus Rashford.
Majorly.
He's been in sensational form. What was it? Previous to this, was it something like nine goals? That's great form, but he's actually leading. He's leading that line. We need other players around him, like you say, some kind of target man, something on his level.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the answer to this problem. We need more goal threats, but I've got to put some out there. I think Garnacho should be starting at this point.
think so too.
Like, it is, if I'm him, I'm thinking, what do I need to do to get into this team? Anthony has been terrible, and I'm sorry what people can say. He's been terrible for quite a few games now. No hate on Anthony. He was good when he first came in. He has been terrible. Garnacho should be playing. He's our... Rashford, don't get me wrong, he's our best forward player, but Garnacho is our best winger. It is 18 years old, is our best winger. He gets crosses in, he beats a man, he is a good goal threat as well, we've seen it, and these are only for the few minutes he's been able to get on the pitch. He should be starting games. He's our best winger and he should be starting, in my opinion.
There was a
I don't
story
care how young he
today
is.
that they're preparing to offer him like an 8-year contract. So he's obviously, I think we all know, like supporters, the club think a lot about Garnacho. They've got high hopes for him. But at the end of the day, yeah, so what? He's 18. You know, if you're good enough, you're old enough. As Sir Matt Busby, you know, once famously said, this club has been built on players like this. So why hold them back?
It's like you say, don't give too much too soon. Don't put pressure on his shoulders, etc.
Yeah, he'll take
he
him out the
seems like
line.
a confident player, and he's got that arrogance in the way he plays football. He can come into this team and he can start football games. I'm very sure of it.
Wayne Rooney was playing for Everton when he was like 16. You know, he was still at school when he scored that goal against Arsenal. You know, David Seaman. You know, and at 18, Wayne Rooney was an established player. You know, nobody held him back and said, "Oh, you know, we'll give it a couple of years. We need to look after him." Just let him go, let him flourish.
He needs to be
It's the
playing.
unpredictability of a player like that age, a raw talent.
To not even bring him on in this game was an awful decision.
Yeah,
it was a game killer. That he could have come on.
He got what?
We were waiting there. Yeah, 2 minutes. When it was 2-2, I was thinking Garnacho can win us the game. Can win us the game. Making that Fred substitution, I do think Fred should have come on as well. Making that Fred substitution and not bringing Garnacho on, it was Erik ten Hag waving the white flag and saying we're sitting in for a draw now.
Yeah.
And I just thought Arsenal knew
Slightly
that as well. They
negative,
kept coming on to us. It's cost us twice now. Palace game as well. 1-0 up. In the second half, we dropped off and we were defending our lead.
The last 15 minutes, we could not get out of our half.
We wanted to hold on to 1-0.
pending.
Today, we're holding on to 2-2. We need to stop holding on to games in the last 20 minutes. Play up until the 90 minutes and play to win a football game. And it's as simple as that. It's cost us twice. I hope it doesn't again.
Best form of defence is attack, right? You just go straight after them, and that naturally pushes them back. Where as you stop doing it, and they're going to sense it, aren't they? It happens. I mean, it happens quite a lot with Manchester United recently. We've not necessarily got out of jail, but we've been lucky in the sense that we haven't conceded. We've managed to keep the clean sheet or go on and win the game. But
honestly, Garnacho coming on today as well against Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu is not a good player. He's not. He's not a good defender. He could have absolutely sent Tomiyasu. Honestly, you would do that. It was such a poor decision not to choose to do that. But anyway.
I would have shifted Rashford behind Wout and then put Garnacho in on the left and make Wout, you know, hold the ball up, bring Rashford in, and then, you know, pass the ball through to Rashford, because he's the one that can make those fast runs and take defenders with him, or even catch them off guard. And I don't know why he didn't do it. I would love to get into Ten Hag's head and find out. And I don't know if any journalists have asked him, but I want to know what he was thinking, because the kid has given you a game-winning assist against one of the biggest teams in the world, and you're not bringing him on to take the game against, you know, let's be honest, the first goal, David De Gea gifted it to them, Wan-Bissaka gift, so we could have won this game. It was ours to lose, and I'm fully with you.
When he came on,
I'm fully with you. Stop trying this playing for safe 1 point. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to do the managerial thing, but he must trust some of these guys who've been performing for him, and he trusted McTominay, man. This is... Oh God, it makes me sad.
No, I mean, yeah, but the McTominay. I mean, do we actually think that Fred, because I guess it was the toss up whether, I know a lot of fans wanted to see Martinez drop into that number 6, and then maybe Shaw as the centre back, and then therefore Malacia would come in, but. Do we think that Fred would have done a better job than what McTominay offered?
No, because he's not a central defensive midfielder.
So can we therefore be too critical of that?
No, it's like comparing. It's like asking me, do you know? It's like asking me like if I want to go on holiday to Blackpool or Butlins in a way. Now it's not. Sorry if anyone who goes there, but like they're both poor options in my. Like you don't want to do either of them. The only reason McTominay would be better is simply for the height. That is literally it. For the height in there, Fred would have got absolutely bulldozed in the midfield on his own.
It's getting highlighted because we've just realised what we have missed in Casemiro massively. You know, and like you say, the chalk and cheese, Casemiro and McTominay, you know, the different leagues. You know, Casemiro's, I don't know, prime steak or something. McTominay's a haggis.
Wagyu steak. Yeah, it's awful. Someone needs to, the club needs to do something about this, because Ten Hag can't go far with this squad. Let's be honest.
We talk about banter. I heard the other week, what was it? That Newcastle was supposed to be after McTominay for 50 million.
30 mil. I'd have to take it.
30, 50. Ring them up now and just.
Well, I'm telling you, it's not 30 as of today, right now.
No, that's
special offer. 20 million.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
We're talking, and this is a question I want to pose to everyone, but Kev, I'll come to you first. Do you think that was poor end game management from Erik ten Hag? Then obviously we've had a little bit of a discussion in terms of what substitutions he should have brought on and stuff, but would you say that's probably one of the times he's got it wrong? He hasn't really got it wrong as of late, has he? But do you think he did get it wrong today?
100%. 150%, even if you go higher than that. There is no doubt in that game management-wise. A lot of these games, at half-time, you know, we reflect on a first-half performance. I'm excited because, yes, it's a draw, but it was a great game of football. You know, and these are the steps that Manchester United have made. I think we've come a long way in a very short space of time under Erik ten Hag. So I don't want to criticise him too much, but listen, we are here to discuss the game, and you can look in management, the way that game was managed was kind of mismanaged, because you find yourself scoring a goal with Martinez, getting back into the game at 2-2, and then you're like, we can go on and win this. And then for some reason, it was clear that it was an indication from the manager. It was definitely tactics to try and sit in. And we've kind of played into their hands. You can't play that way against Arsenal. If you sit back like that, we knew watching it, didn't we? You know, the last 10 minutes.
It was so obvious.
It was quite soul-destroying watching it, because we couldn't get out of our half. It was just bang, bang. We had no outlet. There was nobody holding the ball up. We couldn't move up. McTominay was, you know, non-existent. So from that
Bruno
point,
to the right as well did not work at all. It never does. Why keep making these decisions? It never works. I mean, I know he's not got the squad that he needs. If he had the squad he needs, he wouldn't need to put Bruno out on the right. But it's just like certain decisions that keep being made that are not working. They need to just.
And that's
stop.
the positives we can take, because we think what Ten Hag's done with this group of players already. Some of the players he's developed that some of us had wrote off, probably thought they didn't have futures at Old Trafford. Rashford's improving. Wan-Bissaka's suddenly found himself back in. You know, Dalot has heavily improved under Erik ten Hag. There are loads of positives, and the main one you look at and you think, well, let's wait until he's actually got the group of players that he wants, because this is not his, you know, kind of starting 11. He picks a strong team, but I'm sure there's little tweaks here and there that he'll want at Manchester United, and the number 9 being the main one. You know, that is the cherry on top of the.
There's a few positions that need.
We've got to remember there is still a long way to go in this whole, whether you call it rebuild, transition, however you want to kind of paint the picture. There is still a very long way to go. Red Devils Marching On, though, says, stop being so dramatic. Ten Hag has done brilliantly. Garnacho would have been pointless. We couldn't get the ball. Lost midfield battle the whole game. We've been overachieving all year. Fimble says, hi guys, I think you're all being prats. Praise the manager, because we most probably the only club in the league who literally gave Arsenal a run. Philip says, we need to call Ghostbusters. Maybe they can help us locate McTominay. I like that last one.
On that, obviously you're going to be disappointed in the performance, because we've said it was good to take the game to Arsenal 100%, but Arsenal did dominate us, like they did. Like we took.
I don't think so.
No, I looked at the stats afterwards. They did.
At the end of the first half, it was neck and neck.
Yeah, at the end of the first half. In the second half, and the reason
it was long spells.
The reason why we couldn't get the ball out is because we were playing so deep and inviting pressure on. If we would have made that positive sub of bringing Garnacho on and kept playing the way that we were playing, then we would have been able to, I think, go on and score. And I'm saying it in the second half. They did dominate us for that period when we started.
You know what?
We started sitting back.
I'm glad that we're actually sat here disappointed, because it actually shows how far I think we've come along, right? You know, because we could have been sat here look, and I thought, especially when Casemiro got booked in that previous game, I'm thinking look, quite easily we can go and lose 3-0, like a comfortable loss at the Emirates. And at least we went there, we gave them a game. It sounds almost like you're pity searching a little bit, but we had good spells, and I think we've shown how far we've come overall as a team, as a collective, which is why we're disappointed. We're not disappointed because I don't even know why else you'd be disappointed, but
plus away from home is a really hard ask.
Yeah,
as well.
of course.
Like, being at home is so much different. I've noticed that this season away from home we do seem to drop a little bit. But it's always going to be much tougher going away from home.
I don't know why you would put Bruno on the right though, because he doesn't have speed. You want to be, if you're gonna sit back, you want to have that counter-attacking threat. And Rashford's played all game running. He's gonna be fatigued. It's common sense. You shift him to the middle. You put some fast players on. I would even go as far as I would have brought on Elanga just to give you that speed, just to give you that threat of speed.
You are desperate.
Yeah, I am. No, but because the game could have been won if we had one transition where, let's be honest, we did hold them off. For a long period of the second half, we did hold them off. We just needed that one little pass, either to, someone fresh on the wings that could have taken one of the fullbacks with them and then maybe just square the ball and we could have nicked a goal. We could have. And that's how you do counter-attacking football. You can't expect Rashford to play left side all game, running, getting by his fullbacks, Ramsdale taking him out, and then expect him to do miracle at 91st minute. You're supposed to say, okay, you've done your running, go in the middle, here's your fresh legs, here's your support, you come inside, and when we're in transition, you turn and you go, because you have your wingers with you. And we didn't have that. He didn't equip Rashford to have wingers to go and support him. He kept being stubborn, and it cost him. It's as simple. Bruno's not going to run.
He was isolated, wasn't he?
In latter stage of the second half, when the ball's getting whipped in and we're clearing the ball, we're not running out.
Midfield became even more open with that.
We're not running out. We're sitting back, we're staying there, and we're like, okay, right, when's the next attack coming in? You're supposed to go out. And if you're going out, that shows Arsenal, you know what, actually, we need to be careful. We can't keep choking them in their box. But we didn't. And that's
I think if we had, and it would have been very difficult today, but if we had, or if Aaron Wan-Bissaka was capable of constantly overlapping, then I think you would be able to get away with playing Bruno on that right-hand side. Because yes, he's not quick, but if you had someone that could give that run and give that option almost as another winger that Aaron Wan-Bissaka could hopefully adapt maybe in the future, I'm not too sure, then it would make it a little bit easier. But where we didn't have that, then yes, Bruno isn't quick. He's not, if he's going to play there, he's going to give something completely different in comparison to, even when Anthony isn't having a good game or isn't having a good run, you still know that he has got pace, and then defenders do still have to worry about that ball over the top in behind.
Do you know what is interesting? Well, I think Ricky would say this if he was here. We went on that run, didn't we? With winning so many games. Interesting that we dropped points in the 2 games Martial's not played. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm genuinely being serious. I do think, obviously,
Ricky's got into your head.
No, I'm genuinely being serious. I do think he's way too injury prone, but he's a very, very good player. And when he plays, we usually seem to play better. Anyway.
Jermaine says, calm down, it's a 1-1 split. We won our home game. We did win our home game, but we wanted to win the away game as well. Yeah. So Ten Hag doesn't have the squad. If we have decent owners, we would be on the phone with Juventus for loan players. Vlahovic would be fantastic. We're stuck with Weghorst. Playing deep because we're knackered, no squad depth. Correct. Played midweek and our best midfielder was out. They were at home, always going to push us back. Look, these are all... People are going to have different opinions with everything, especially, people have different outlooks on when we win, when we lose, whether it's a good performance, bad performance. So, and that's why we appreciate, obviously, everyone's opinion on this channel, right? That's the whole thing, is fan opinion. We're all sat here with different opinions as well.
Even with the likes of Donny van der Beek's, obviously, injury to the end of the season, he would have been a good option to have today. Have we replaced him in January? Nope. He had nothing on that bench apart from Garnacho that was of any quality. It's as simple as that.
It's the only one that could have changed the game.
It's sad, really.
Or poor Pelestri, man. I call him poor Pelestri now.
Yeah.
I don't call him Pelestri because...
I would have took Pelestri playing over Anthony today.
In 2 years, he's gotten his debut just recently, and then even then he's not going to see... Is he going to see minutes against Reading, against Nottingham? I don't think so. His representatives are, obviously furious with the club, and rightly so.
Even Ahmad. at Sunderland.
I'd
You know,
call
he's
him
doing
back.
really well.
Ahmad's doing
He would have been an
brilliant.
option
I'd call
today.
him back
You know,
instantly.
Yeah.
he's something off the bench, an attacking threat.
Jalapeno says we need backup for Eriksen. Our bench was weak. Speaking of the bench, just quickly, when you look at the bench, especially when the team got announced, and I look at it, and you know you've got the only one really that excites me is Garnacho on that bench. You've obviously got Lindelof, Maguire. What kind of impact are they going to have, you know, on the game? The only reason they're going to come on is one, injuries, and two, like sometimes we do, is we bring on another defender to shut up shop. You know, you've got Mainu, who probably isn't ready yet.
Oh, he isn't ready.
So
Not ready.
it's
He's
such a
just filling
shame,
a
isn't
spot.
it?
He was never ever going to come on the pitch. He's just filling a spot. It's disappointing, to be honest.
But at what point, Beth, I'll come to you. At what point does Erik ten Hag need to consider Garnacho over Anthony? And I know there's a lot of things that will come into this, obviously, and it's not Anthony's fault, the price tag, etc. But let's be honest, he's not having the greatest run at the minute in terms of what he's offering to the team, I guess. And from what we've seen from Garnacho, yes, it has been on the left. Could he go out and play on that right-hand side, or would you bring him in and then force Rashford over to the right-hand side? Do you
No.
think he should be starting over Anthony, or?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I do. Based off recent performances, I do think that. Anthony, for me, when he first came in, and I know everyone says give time. When he first came in, I was really liking the look of him. Great left foot. He's 100% got potential there, and I do think there is a good player there. Recently, though, he's not been good. He has not been good at all, and he slows down our attacks. His passing's been lazy, I think, at times. His crossing also has been lazy, like we're not beating the first man or pointless crosses. And he also doesn't use his right foot, so it's really, really predictable when you're defending against it. And for me personally, he's just not really offering anything to the team right now. So if I was Palestri, I'd be thinking, where's my game time? Like, give me a little... I'm not saying he should be starting over Anthony immediately, but give him a chance. Give him a chance, because Anthony's not really bringing much to the party. If I was Garnacho, I was thinking, how am I not even getting 20 minutes off the bench? He should be starting over Anthony in the form that they're in at the moment. And also, if I was Sancho, I would be thinking, get me back in this team ASAP. I can win my place back now, because he genuinely can. There is, obviously, and people say give him time. I've seen people say that. I saw Mudryk play for 10 minutes for Chelsea, and you could tell how good of a player that he was. With Anthony, we've seen it a lot from the Dutch league, players coming in, the quality that you think they are in the Dutch league. We've seen it with Cody Gakpo as well. In the Premier League, it's a different kettle of fish. I do think there's a good player there, and I do think he can come good. He's only 22. Don't want to write him off at all. But right now, what harm would it be to just drop him to the bench for a few games and hopefully kind of get a fire started maybe in him and thinking, I need to up my performances here. People have had it done to them before. Shaw's had it done to them. You come back stronger, but there's no harm in putting him on the bench for a few games if someone's playing better.
It's how
than
you
him.
respond to that, isn't it? You don't spit your
they
dummy
are, yeah.
out, you go back, you work harder, like you say. There's no harm in taking a player like Anthony out, you know.
I was thinking today, I was like, before the game, I was like, I really hope Anthony scores today. He needs it, because he's not been having the best of games. Like, it's not that I want him to do so well, and I think there is potential, but my eyes don't lie to me. And what I'm seeing is someone that is not playing very well.
Faz, I come to you. Do you think? I know you think Anthony can offer something to this team. Do you think he does need not necessarily a rest, but just some time out? And you could say even if it's just 2 games, that's not even a long period of time. That's 4 days. That's not even a sustained period of time. Would it be now the right time, considering we have 2 cup games now, to be like, look, we're going to play Garnacho, we're going to play Elanga, whoever it's going to be. Do you think you just stick through it, kind of through thick and thin?
You have to consider if you shift him off the team and bring someone in who is not a right-sided player, is the player going to give you anything in terms of goals and assists? If you shift Rashford to the right, sure, he's amazing, Rashford, right now, but can he be able to give you those goals that he has been scoring? The probability is no. He might not be able to get those goals that he's been scoring. Same with Garnacho. If you play him on the right-hand side, do you think Garnacho is going to give you those assists and beat those fullbacks like he has been doing on his left? Maybe not.
I've seen him play on the right wing for a period of time. I can't remember when it was. It was in a game, and he did put a cross in, and we scored from it.
But that is one sample size compared to how many games you've got coming. If you're going to bench him for X amount, okay, let's say you take Anthony off in a cup game and you put Garnacho on at 18 years old, he might do really well and it's a big risk, big reward. But if he doesn't, that first shot's the confidence for the kid. And then second of all, you've just now lost a cup game. Anthony might still be somewhat of a safer option, but I do think it is time to start bringing off Anthony earlier, which he has been doing, but maybe even bring him, keep him in bench and bring him on in the latter stage of the game where you're not actually throwing the game away or throwing that side away as well. He does need to, today he beat a few players at times. He did, and
seems to start games well, doesn't he? And then he kind of just fizzles out.
He fizzles out, exactly right. Yeah, he at the start of the games he does have his moments where he's good and he does, beat players with his flair stuff that he does. But in terms of the Premier League, what comes down to is at moments you do need to turn the burners on and you need to smoke your fullbacks, and he doesn't do that. And the best wingers in the league, that's what they make their, I like to call it, bread and butter. And Anthony's bread and butter is not working. So I have to agree that maybe a little bit of bench would be good, but I think still coming in second half, when the fullbacks are tired, when they're fatigued, maybe he might be of an impact, and use him as an impact sub, and give Garnacho his minutes on the right-hand side. I think Garnacho and Rashford are still fantastic players to hold the position down.
He's got the pace, Anthony, as
well.
Yeah,
they can hold the position down. I just feel like their output from their natural position might not be, percentage-wise, might not be 100%, it might be 50% or 70%, and that's something Ten Hag has to decide.
What you would get as well is bringing a Garnacho or even a Sancho when he's back in, is you would get someone who can actually get to the byline and get crosses in, and that is what we're in desperate need of. We need of our wingers providing more into the box and providing more link-up play, and I do think you'd get that. With Anthony, it's always cut back onto the left, either a cross that is poor or a wonder goal, or that's it, or he gets dispossessed. I think if you put someone on there that can do more, you have different options, and I think it can help the team better, in my opinion.
Well, we saw it when we played Everton. Rashford beat whoever, was it Godfrey or whoever it was playing right back at the time, and got the ball across to Anthony, and that game literally summed up. And we obviously sat here afterwards, and Ricky obviously goes on so much about getting balls across into the box, and then I think Rashford did the same, which then led to an own goal. And we haven't really done it since, whether we don't think we're able to, or it's a clear tactical thing that isn't something that Ten Hag wants to do. I'm not too sure, but we'll do a quick look ahead for obviously the midweek game, huge semi-final. I don't think it's something to be overlooked, especially now coming off of a loss. Forest are going to be looking at us and going, let's kick them while they're down almost, so wounded animal. Are we still confident that we can, still go and get a result? Yeah, it's Nottingham Forest, let's be honest. We're not that bad, or we're not that low. we didn't get battered in this game. We should be able to, handle Nottingham Forest with
it
ease.
It is. There is still positives. I know we've got beat today, and Piers Morgan can have his Sunday evening of, getting on Twitter and trolling everyone. Fair play to you, mate. Have your day in the sun or whatever. But there are positives to take from Manchester United, even though we've got beat today. I'm not just trying to say that, to cheer myself up and cheer everybody else up. We've made massive strides in a short space of time.
Most important thing for me is get Sancho back. He's one of the highest paid players, and he's extreme amount of money that we've paid for him, and he wasn't overpaid for as well, because we know his ceiling. He needs to come back and say, you know what, this is what I've been cooking, and here you go. And show that to Anthony, you've got competition on your right-hand side. We know he wants to play the right-hand side. That's a position that he's done really well in pre-season. It's time. It's time for him to show his actual value. I want to see him in the cup game, and if Ten Hag isn't using him in the cup game, I'm going to start raising questions as to why. What now? How much more is this step-by-step process to go?
Yeah, I think Forest is I'd never say I'm 100% certain, but I would say 100% certain we're winning that game. I think we'll actually probably beat him 3-0. And that's away as well. I think Forest I mean, we're sitting here discussing the Arsenal game, and Arsenal are a brilliant team at the moment. They are, and because we've set the expectations so high, we're gutted we've lost this game, and there is negatives that you can obviously pick out, but against Forest, we'll win that game, and especially over 2 legs as well. Yeah. And the second leg at Old Trafford, there's not a chance that we won't be getting through to the final. Yeah, then we quickly look ahead to Reading on the Saturday night, I think. Do we see... That's where Sancho should play. Do we see rotation in that game? Obviously,
I would put Sancho in Nottingham Forest game, in all honesty. I'm kind of
He
desperate.
wasn't even with the squad today.
I know,
I don't
but
think he'll be
that is
there.
concerning. What is it that he needs? People are so hyped about the player just being in the country.
He's been training with the team, so I don't see.
I know.
I think there's a mental thing there as well. You know, I think Ten Hag's took him out. He's been to a training camp, but I mean, you read some things, and he was upset he didn't go to the World Cup. I know he deleted all his posts on Instagram and stuff. Yeah, I suppose different people deal with things differently, don't they?
Jesse Lingard's had a terrible time. You saw his documentary and his interview. He's had an awful time to deal with, and I feel so sorry for him. But I'm sure Sancho's gone through maybe similar or worse, whatever it is. Hopefully he gets the right help. Hopefully he has been getting the right help. But what are we doing here? We are paying one of the highest paid players in the league. Let's not call it as it is. What are we doing with this player? How much more am I going to wait? I think it's 15 games now he's missed, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of games.
Well, that's if I don't turn up to work tomorrow, I don't get paid. It's as simple as that. But you're not telling me he's not getting paid. He's still... So from United's point of view, he's an asset they've heavily invested in. You want to start seeing a return on it, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
I'm hoping that he does obviously come back a lot stronger mentally, physically as well, because I think he can play a big pivotal role in Manchester United's future, and I really do hope so for his sake as well. We all saw the numbers and his productivity in the Bundesliga, and yes, not really as a whole league comparable to the Premier League, but he done it in the Champions League as well against some of the best teams in the world. So I'm sure that he can be a pivotal member in this Man United team.
Mm-hmm. Can I quickly just say something? Actually, one thing I wanted to bring up, and this isn't me just trying to be negative again. Everyone says, "Oh, I've got a David De Gea agenda." I just want to bring it up because I spoke about it last week, and I got so many people saying, "Beth, you're wrong." I had Mark trying to tell me that De Gea's distribution was amazing in the City game. It was awful, but we didn't get punished through it. Today, again, it was awful. His distribution was poor, and it cost us again. Him and Wan-Bissaka, that pass put him massively under pressure, that trickling pass over to him. And as well, he's not coming out collecting crosses. He's not coming out... One time it bounced in front of him and he's stuck to his goal line. He should be going getting it. He's got no presence in there. He's really starting to worry me. The save against Palace was world class. Shot stopping wise, his saves are world class, but you need more from a goalkeeper, and I feel like David De Gea has improved. I want to see him kicking on because these are little problems that are going to start costing us.
Made a great save today in the second half, didn't he?
He should have saved that one. He should have saved that one, but it's like he needs to be more of a presence in that box, and the distribution needs to be better because it is going to cost us, and it does come down to fine margins sometimes, but it does need to improve. I mean,
on that note, you can actually go and follow the United Stand Instagram because I'm doing a little series of 5 goalkeepers Man United should look at signing when his time is up. So cheeky little plug, but. Yeah, appreciate everyone for stopping by. That is going to be the end of the show. Thank you to everyone for joining me. Obviously, disappointing result, but it is what it is. We're not going to win every single game of football, unrealistic point of view, but hopefully, obviously, during the week with Forest and then Reading, we can get back to winning ways. And then must be Barcelona soon after that. Not too long after that, isn't it? The big one, but we'll look forward to that when it comes round to it. A lot of games coming up. Appreciate everyone for sticking by and watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and we'll see you in the next one.